Have you ever looked at your grocery bill and just wondered, how did everything get so expensive? Well, the real story doesn't start at your local store. It starts thousands of miles away, in a super complex, tangled web. Today, we're going to untangle it and connect the dots from a backed-up shipping port all the way to the price tag on your milk.
Seriously, it's the question on everyone's mind, right? From your morning coffee to the gas in your car, prices have just shot up. But to really get why, we can't just look at the store shelf. We've got to trace the journey of, well, pretty much everything you own, all the way back to the beginning.
You've been there, right? Sitting at the airport and your flight's delayed because the plane that's supposed to take you is late arriving. That is the perfect analogy for the global supply chain. It's all one giant chain reaction. One little delay over here causes another one over there, and pretty soon the whole system just grinds to a halt. This is basically the story of inflation. So let's break down how that whole feedback loop got started.
So for decades, the global economy basically ran on one big idea: maximum efficiency. Everything was engineered to be a finely tuned machine designed to cut every last bit of waste. But this obsession with being super efficient, well, it created a hidden weakness, a system that was actually so fragile that one little push could make the whole thing crumble.
The philosophy behind it all is called just-in-time, or JIT for short. It was pioneered by Toyota. And look, the goal was brilliant, really. Eradicate all waste. Don't make a car part until a customer actually orders a car. Don't let anything sit around gathering dust in a warehouse. In a perfect world, everything arrives exactly when it's needed, which slashes costs right down to the bone.
Just look at this thing. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance. Customer demand pulls the entire chain forward. That signal zips back to the factory, which makes exactly what's needed, no more, no less. Then the factory pulls the exact materials it needs from its suppliers, who deliver them, you guessed it, right on schedule. When it works, it's amazing. But, and this is a huge but, what happens when just one dancer stumbles?
Well, in 2020, the whole world found out the answer to that question, the hard way. The relentless chase for efficiency had built a system with absolutely zero room for error. And then along came an error bigger than anyone could have possibly imagined.
The pandemic was what you'd call a black swan event. You know, something so rare and so severe, it's completely outside of our normal expectations. And it didn't just bend the just-in-time system. Nope, it shattered it, completely exposing that deep vulnerability that was hiding right underneath all that supposed efficiency.
And it wasn't just one thing, it was a total cascade of failures. All of a sudden, everyone was stuck at home, right? So demand for things like travel and restaurants just collapsed. But demand for goods, laptops, Pelotons, you name it, it exploded. At the exact same time, lockdowns were shutting down the factories that make those goods. Ports turned into giant parking lots for container ships. Then you had critical shortages, like for microchips, that stopped production lines cold. And just to top it all off, you get some pure bad luck, like a giant ship getting stuck sideways in the Suez Canal. It was truly the perfect storm.
Okay, so here's where it all hits home. All those disruptions, those shortages, those delays, they weren't just logistical headaches for a few companies. They had a direct and compounding effect on cost. Let's see exactly how that works.
It's a textbook domino effect. First, energy prices go up, making it more expensive to run the factories and fuel the ships. That, in turn, pushes up the cost of raw materials. Then, with ships stuck waiting at sea, the cost of shipping itself goes through the roof. And at every single step of this chain, that new cost gets passed on and marked up, until finally, that one big compounded price lands right on you, the consumer. And hey, this isn't just a hunch. Research across 45 different countries found a direct measurable link. For every 1-point increase in what they call the Global Supply Chain Pressure Index, inflation went up by 0.27 percentage points. Now, that might not sound like a lot on its own, but when that pressure index is spiking, those little increases add up, and they add up fast across the whole economy.
And this pain wasn't shared equally. The long-term inflationary hit from all these shocks was way higher in emerging and developing economies. And the reason is pretty simple. They often rely more heavily on imported goods, and they just have less of a financial cushion to absorb those rising costs.
So this whole crisis, it was a massive wake-up call. Businesses everywhere realized that their relentless focus on being lean and mean had left them totally exposed. It was time for a new strategy, one that prioritized being resilient over just cutting costs. This table really lays out the huge shift in thinking. Where just-in-time was all about lean inventory and having just a few key suppliers, the new just-in-case model is pretty much the exact opposite. It's all about building a safety net. holding extra stock, having lots of different suppliers, and basically being ready for anything. It's a move from planning for a perfect world to preparing for the real messy one.
So what does just in case actually look like? Well, it means building in buffers. Instead of relying on one supplier, you have backups. You hold on to extra inventory, they call it safety stock, of your most critical parts. You might even have extra production capacity on standby, just in case something goes wrong. Yeah, it costs more upfront, but what you're buying is security.
And the data shows this wasn't just talk. I mean, look at this chart. It plots importer inventories. For years, that line is basically flat. Then, boom! Right at the start of the pandemic, it shoots straight up and stays there. That massive jump is the just-in-case strategy playing out in real time. Companies started stockpiling right away to protect themselves from the next shock.
And this wasn't some abstract trend, right? Real companies were making real moves. When they were faced with unreliable partners and constant delays, what did they do? They diversified. They added alternative suppliers. They started looking for new places to get their stuff, making sure they'd never again get caught with all their eggs in one basket.
It's really important to get that this huge pivot from just-in-time to just-in-case isn't just a temporary fix. It's a new, long-term vision for how the global economy is going to operate from now on.
So what does the new playbook look like? Well, it's a hybrid, trying to get the best of both worlds. JIT's efficiency with JIC's security. It's going to be way more digital, using things like AI to predict disruptions before they even happen. And it's more diverse and more local, with companies bringing production closer to home to cut down on risk. Simply put, the era of putting all your eggs in one hyper-efficient basket, yeah, that's over.
And that leaves us with one last really crucial question. This new, more resilient world sounds safer for sure, but it also sounds, well, more expensive, doesn't it? Building in all those safety nets, the extra inventory, the backup suppliers, all of that costs money. So as we move forward, the big trade-off we all have to face is this. Are we willing to pay a little more for security and predictability? It's a question that businesses and you and I will be answering for years to come.